Hi YouTube! Today I'm going to be doing my video on Capricorn Moon. So if you're in your birth chart, if your moon placement is in Capricorn, then this video is for you. Now I have quite a few people in my life that I'm close to that either have a Capricorn Moon, ascendant in Capricorn. My sister has an ascendant in Capricorn. My best friend, she has a moon in Capricorn. My dad has his Mercury in Capricorn. So I got this energy. I have a lot of this energy around me. And I have no Capricorn, and I think that's why these people manifest in my life. So the first thing with Capricorns is that they're ruled by the planet Saturn, and Saturn is the planet of restriction. Anywhere where Saturn's found, whether it be on the chart, on your wheel, or if you have Capricorn in your chart, a lot of the things of that placement is restricted and kind of put into a box, and it's going to be harder for you until Saturn comes back around in 30 years. So to start this off, because the moon is how you feel and your emotions, and Saturn is ruling your moon, and Saturn is a planet of restriction, emotions for Capricorns are restricted. Now these people aren't the emotional type. They aren't going to cry in front of you, and they're not going to go anywhere as an emotional wreck or a mess. These people have a serious face on majority of the time. They look very solid and sturdy and serious. Very often they have a good poker face, And the moon does fall here again. There's a lot of placements that the moon falls, and this is one of them because there's emotional restriction that you put on yourself. And growing up, your life most likely wasn't easy for you, and it probably was an emotional upbringing that you just don't know how to react to it, that you didn't know how to react to it, or you didn't know how to feel about it or express the way you felt about it. So when Capricorns are younger, they feel older, and as soon as Saturn comes back around when they're 30, they learn to let loose a bit and tend to not be so hard on themselves, because Capricorn moons are very hard on themselves. They want to be the best. These people, they want to be at the top, and they want to make the most money. They want to have the most status. They want to be the best version of them they can be, But there's something that holds them back from allowing them, and that's Saturn. Because these people are very smart, very intelligent, They are an earth sign, so they're very practical. They're very practical, actually. I think they're the most practical out of all the earth signs because of how straightforward and blunt they are. And they don't really look at the emotional side of things. They see what they have to do, and they go and do it. This is a cardinal sign, which their need for action is strong. So their need to get this money is strong, and they will go at it. But failure scares them, and humiliation scares them. Not being seen as good enough scares them, because maybe in their early upbringing, they were constantly being pushed to be the best. They were constantly being forced to do this or do that. Or, they truly didn't feel like they were being themselves, or they had a lot of stress on them. And they had a lot of pressure to exceed everyone's expectations of them. But it's a lot for them, mainly because majority of the time they don't really want to do any of that, but they're being pushed so hard, and everyone's hard on them, or people are telling them that they're doing something wrong a lot. That's something with Capricorn moons, is that people tell you that you're doing something wrong, especially when you're younger, or I don't know, that everything you're doing isn't good enough and that it could be better. They're constantly critiquing you, or you're constantly viewed as lazy, lethargic, not wanting to do anything, being very serious, So you develop this hard pressure on yourself. Now you become so hard on yourself because everyone else is so hard on you. And Capricorns have Saturn here because your life is not going to be easy. Capricorns and earth signs in general, Yes, they're very stubborn, and yes, they're very unemotional because they were probably walked on a lot when they were younger. They were probably pushed around a lot when they were younger. Capricorn's emotional environment probably wasn't as stable as they would like it because these are steady, stable people. But emotions can really mess them up because they don't know how to deal with them sometimes, that they become numb and they mask it so that others can't see it. Because these aren't people that want to be seen as weak and vulnerable. They are cardinals. They want to be seen as strong leaders. And when they're not seen like that, they feel like they, I don't know, like they feel like they're not good enough. And when they want to get to the top of the mountain so bad because Capricorn's the goat. They like go slowly up the mountain. So anything that they want, they work at it slowly. These people don't just get something overnight. If they have anything, they worked hard for it and it took them some time to get it. So there can be this negativity and pessimism that Capricorns develop because they're like, what's the point? I don't see the point in this. Like, I'm never going to be the best. I'm never going to be like at the top of the mountain, I guess you can say. That's just like, I don't know, an example. So that like they're hard on themselves, and that means that showing their emotions is hard for them too. And dealing with emotional situations is not their strong suit. If you go to a Capricorn crying, oh my Lord, these aren't the people. They'll give you practical advice and they'll tell you how to deal with it practically, but they're not going to blow smoke up your ass and just sit there and support you and pet you and sympathize with you. These people aren't like that. These people are like, you come to them with their emotional problems, and yes, they'll feel for you, you know, but they don't know how to necessarily empathize with you because maybe growing up, nobody empathized with them, or maybe they were really like just neglected and abandoned and felt really alone, that they dealt with their emotions by themselves, so they don't understand why someone's coming to them crying with all these emotions and stuff because they're like, hey, like, you know, and these are independent people also. So like they work best by themselves, if that makes sense. They can take care of anything by themselves. They handle situations and education and like school, they do better by themselves. You know, like they can really self-teach themselves. They're good with being self-taught, okay? Because they're smart and they figure it out for themselves. Because they were most often, as they were younger, they were probably had a lot of responsibility on them. Like they were probably in situations that a young person shouldn't be in, or they probably had responsibilities that a young person shouldn't have. Like my sister has an ascendant in Capricorn, and growing up, she took care of me a lot, you know? So these people can have that. And so they know how to deal with things by themselves, and they come off very responsible. And also they run on time. It kind of feels like their life is like a ticking clock. I have to be here at 7. I have to be here at 2. Like, I have to be on time. And when they're not on time, then they feel like very like, oh, I have to do this. I have to get this out of the way. Because they restrict their fun because they have all these responsibilities in their head or tasks that they have to complete. So these are like, they don't want to go out and have fun unless everything is taken care of, or they may go out and have fun and push the responsibility to the side, but they're going to regret it most likely, or the entire time they're like, I really have to do this, I really have to do this. Like, you know, like that's a constant stress. Responsibility is a lot of stress for them, but they handle it really well because they're so used to it. Okay, along with that, Capricorns are very practical when it comes to love matters. They aren't the people to go chasing after you if they know it's not going to work. These people are very, they are afraid of rejection, yes, and they are afraid of not being good enough, and they're afraid of putting themselves out there because Saturn restricts everything that they want to do. So maybe they want to go do this, but they're like, no, like, I'm not gonna be the best or whatever. Whatever restricts them. And they may go at it, and they can be very persistent at getting what they want, whether it be school, money, someone, or like, they can be very persistent, but only if it's practical and they know it's gonna work out. If they're not people that are going to daydream a lot, and they're not living in La La Land. They're not like, they're living in reality, and that's really what they focus on, like their task and stuff. So yes, that can be an emotional blockage. Now, if your moon is in Capricorn and the moon is the mother, how you view your mother may be as someone who's hardworking, never really around because they're busy working, someone who's very practical, and someone that may not tend to your emotional needs. Growing up, your mom probably wasn't emotionally active as she should have been. You know, there was probably a lot of hurt from either, because Saturn's the father, you know, so Saturn rules Capricorn. You know, so there was probably a strong father force, and the mother didn't do anything for the child's emotional well-being, or she couldn't because the Saturn figure was very strong. So these people view their moms as not being emotionally there for them. Therefore, like, that's how they are too, you know? Because they're Capricorn moons. So yeah, along with that, they have the power to excel. But with success for Capricorns comes with a lot of downfalls. A lot of bad things are going to happen to you. Not like bad things, but things that are going to get in the way of getting what you want. That's going to happen frequently, but you have to learn how to keep going. And you may feel like time goes so slow for you, like nothing's like working in your favor. And you may feel like your life is so long. But when Saturn comes around in 30 years, so once you've hit the age of 30, this will start to lift off and your worries will start to not be as strong. And Capricorns have a tendency to fall into depression and addictions because Capricorns have a hard time feeling their emotions fully. There's a restriction to their emotions. So the way they cope with it may be drugs, alcohol, alone time, work, money. These people will put their emotional frustration into something that either escapes them or something that'll be useful. So something that'll be useful is that they may spend a lot more time working, getting money, or like doing something that benefits them, or maybe spend a lot of time on school, or they can spiral downwards and lean towards the alcohol and the drugs because they just don't know how to cope, or that's their way of feeling, or maybe they just don't want to feel. It can go both ways. Maybe a Capricorn doesn't feel. I feel like there's more rigid ones and there's softer ones, depending. If there's any water in that person's chart that has Capricorn, then these people are naturally softer and they feel their emotions better. So then taking the drugs and the alcohols and the escapism might be to stop the feelings. But if you don't have any water in your chart, it may be to feel something, you know? Because you live so practically that you just want to feel the good things in life. Now, these people do crave love and they do crave affections. Believe it or not, Capricorns can be very insecure and very hard on themselves on time. And they want someone that's there to support them and be there for them. And they want someone that's reliable and steady, that's not really going to leave them. But at times, they struggle with friendships, with relationships, communications, because Saturn's restricting this. Saturn restricts everything. So you may want love really bad, and you may want friends really bad, or partnership, or want to be able to communicate better, but because Saturn's here, this is going to be harder for you. So if you just sit there and don't communicate with like anybody, or you don't go out on a whim, then you're never going to achieve the love and the passion that you want, because you want to be happy, but you feel like either you don't deserve it, either you're not worthy of it, maybe it's just not for you, maybe there's something better. But either way, you restrict yourself from allowing yourself to feel everything how you should. Therefore, learn what you really want, accept it and get it, slowly. Learn how to feel. So I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.